Hello and welcome to The Last Word. What are the lessons we need to learn about disaster management from the recent tragedy in Uttarakhand, and what steps must be taken to improve disaster management hereafter? My guests are a former member of the National Disaster Management Authority, Lieutenant General J.R. Bhardwaj, the coordinator of South Asia Network on Dams, Rivers and People, Himanshu Thakur, Professor of Policy and Planning in Disaster Management, Sutosh Kumar, and a member of the NDMA Task Force, Anjali Khwatra. Let's start with the lessons that need to be learned about the disaster management response in Uttarakhand before we ask ourselves what steps are necessary hereafter to improve disaster management for the future. Now, Mr. Thakur, I believe the first principle of disaster management is early awareness through forecasting, and I'm told that even cloudbursts can be forecast 3 to 4 hours in advance, provided you have the necessary equipment, which incidentally I'm also told doesn't cost much more than 15 or 20 crore. In this instance in Uttarakhand, did we have forecasts that gave us those 3-4 hours of critical warning, or is that the first failure we need to learn from?
Absolutely. Not only we did not have that advantage of 3-4 hours warning before the disaster actually happened, but 4 days after the disaster has happened, we still don't have clear picture as to how much rainfall occur, where did the cloudburst occur, which led to this situation. Even if we have the information, that infrastructure for the warning is not there. But even if we have the information, once the event starts and occurs, then and the local administration and the concerned communities are alerted, it can further reduce the disaster impact. But that also we don't have even 4 days after.
But one of the critical things that you suggested is that equipment that is as cheap as just 15-20 crore, had it been installed, and it's available to install,
Absolutely,
would have given us critical 3-4 hours advance notice, and yet because of failure to install equipment, we didn't have that critical notice.
That's absolutely true. Just 15 crores could have given 3 hours, and all of these places, this has been multi-point disaster, and each of the point we could have got a warning.
Now, General Bhardwaj, the second principle after forecasting is swift and effective dissemination of information, and then the rapid evacuation of people who could be affected from the areas where in fact the disaster is going to strike. I take it, if you don't have forecasting, then there's no question of having effective dissemination of information, and there's certainly no question of evacuating people who are going to be affected. So would that be a second critical failure in this instance in Uttarakhand?
Yes, it is related to early warning, no doubt about it, and the whole response of evacuation in such cases is most vital point. Earlier the evacuation, then loss of life can be prevented. Of course, loss to the damage to the property may not be possible, but one can save the lives with the dissemination of proper early warning system.
And you're therefore suggesting that because we didn't have proper forecasting mechanisms in place, even though they're very cheap and they're available, therefore we couldn't disseminate information, and therefore we couldn't protect lives. All of it flows logically from the failure to forecast. Am I correct in that, General Bhardwaj?
Yes, I would like to say that the gentleman just spoke about early warning system. I wonder at how many places would you like to lay down in whole Himalayas, and the cloudburst can take place anywhere, and all over the world I don't think there are such facilities available for cloudbursts. And this kind of thing, whether it is practical from the management point of view or preparedness point of view, it will take, I think, a lot of time and money to look after that issue.
Let me very quickly come back to you on that, Mr. Thakur, because what you're getting from General Bhardwaj is questioning A, whether it's practical to install early warning systems for cloudbursts all over the Himalayas, and secondly, whether it is even feasible. How would you respond to that?
Well, what I have been made to understand is for entire Uttarakhand to put this system in place, you need only 15 crores.
for the entire state.
Entire state of Uttarakhand.
And given that Uttarakhand is particularly prone to this sort of problem, this is a minimal expenditure
Absolutely.
which should have been undertaken.
Absolutely, and now the Prime Minister has declared 1,000 crore package. It's just question of 15 crores.
Let me come to a second critical lesson, Professor Santosh Kumar, that we need to draw from the manner in which disaster management has responded to Uttarakhand. We've noticed, and there have been stark pictures of buildings collapsing literally like a house of cards, and most of them have been houses and hotels, and they've all been built bang on the river, literally where the floodplain or the river bed should be. Clearly those were disasters waiting to happen, and disaster management should have known well in advance that these were dangerous, they should have removed them and they should have cleared them.
Yeah, I entirely agree with you, because what we say that disaster management is not per se a disaster management issue at all, but it is a larger development issue. And over the years, risks are getting built in the development sectors, and which are culminating into the nature's fury and converting into disaster.
But how much of the disaster is building up because essential precautions that should be taken by disaster management well in advance, such as clearing these buildings that are dangerous, isn't happening?
Yes, it's not happening, because what I'm saying is, like the whole of the Uttarakhand and in Himalaya of India is fragile mountain. They are already mapped as a very high vulnerable zone. Zone 4 and Zone 5 for earthquake, as well as for the landslide and the cloud burst.
Quite true. What you're saying is, we know that a disaster is going to happen. We know that the buildings by the riverbank are going to be the first to be hit. Yeah. We know that when there's a flood, they will literally collapse like a house of cards. And yet, those in charge of disaster management don't clear those buildings, don't give sufficient warning that they should be removed. Why? Is it because they know there'll be a problem and yet don't act? Is it a mindset problem? What is it that stops them?
Not really, Karan. I would like to mention like this. Is the warning is like Himanshu mentioned about the early warning, and you also mentioned. In this particular case, 4 days in advance, this was given by the Indian Meteorological Department that heavy to very heavy rains likely to occur.
Why then did the authorities not take action?
Precisely. And
no,
it
but
was
what's the answer? Why didn't they do it? Is it a mindset problem? Are they not trained to handle disaster management?
And after
or
that,
do they just simply say that this warning is for others, not for me?
No,
Which
no,
is
no. It's certainly, and the Disaster Management Division would have taken it very, very importantly, as the district collector is the chairman of the Disaster Authority. And
but they clearly didn't, because they permitted the yatra to continue. They didn't evacuate the people on the riverbed. Many of those have suffered and died. So they had the warning, and yet they didn't act. You know, you, Ms. Quatra, before we came on air, said something that in a sense perhaps illustrates the problem we're talking about. You said in India, disaster management itself is a disaster. Give me an example to illustrate that dramatic conclusion.
During the preparation for Commonwealth Games in Delhi, and I was part of the Commonwealth Games Medical and Health Services Committee as a disaster management expert, and we had to comply to international standards to prepare Delhi for disasters. And for this, in the run-up, there was this mock exercise conducted to involve all the districts commissioners. And we told them, what if an earthquake happens during Commonwealth Games? What will be your response? And some of them had said, you're saying a scenario of a major earthquake and that can even erase my office. And one of them said that I don't think I can do anything in that case. If you say communication lines are gone, buildings have collapsed, then I will not be able to help.
You mean he hadn't realized that actually when there's a disaster, even if his own building has suffered, that's when he's most needed. Instead, he was prepared to throw in the towel and say, agar ye hoga to main kuch bhi nahi karunga.
Exactly.
In fact, then let me put to you the question I was putting to Professor Santosh Kumar, which in a sense he was resisting answering. If in the Uttarakhand case, district magistrates had warnings 3 days in advance from the IMD that there would be heavy rain to come, not cloudburst but heavy rain, why did they not A, stop the yatras continuing, B, evacuate those buildings which are cheek by jowl with the river bank, which they should have known would be affected? Why were those precautionary steps not taken? Is it a mindset problem? Is it that they hear of risk but don't believe it's going to hit them?
Exactly, it's a mindset problem. Even the district magistrate level officials are not sensitized to disaster management. Their awareness levels are so poor, and they're not aware of even the risks that are there in their own areas and how to manage them.
So they seem to operate in the belief that the risk is for others, not for me, therefore I don't need to act.
It's the typical Indian psyche that, you know, things may not happen, let me not prepare.
Let me broaden this discussion a little, because when we're talking about the responsive disaster management to what happened in Uttarakhand, it goes way beyond just prediction, dissemination, evacuation, or even the nature of buildings that are permitted. I'm particularly concerned about the way mountain roads are built in this area. I'm told that many of them have been hastily built after the 62 war. Many of them are subject to landslides, and a lot of them are simply not designed to carry the quantity of traffic they're carrying today. In which case, why haven't disaster management experts stepped in and said these roads are a disaster that is waiting to happen?
Well, that's very true. Actually, and this is not only of the old roads, but even now the roads that are being built. This is a report from the State Disaster Authority of October 2012, after the last year's Asiganga disaster. And the report says that typically all roads get built next to the river. And roads plus river next to the river, roads plus river next to each other invites lot of building activity. Residences, hotels and so on, because it's very convenient and very reachable and it provides tourism.
And this encourages landslides.
And then together all this is including encroachment on the riverbed, landslides, erosion, and while building the roads, again they have said that there is no attention to drainage.
In other words, the entire business of constructing roads, the way in which they're built with landslides perpetually happening, the way the mountain is not secured, means that it is not just done hastily, it is actually done irresponsibly. Our disaster management authorities are aware, they're writing reports predicting the problem, and yet they do nothing about it.
Well, actually it's criminally negligent.
General Bhargava, another area of concern is the fact that there are some 75,000 tourists and pilgrims today stranded in places like Chamoli, Badrinath, Kedarnath, Gangotri. And yet, these small villages of Uttarakhand simply don't have the facilities to cater to this vast number of people, and the roads that lead there and back simply don't have the carrying capacity to transport these people. So why did the district authorities allow such numbers to congregate all together at one time in these places? Surely we should have been aware that you simply don't have the facilities to handle this number, particularly when there's a disaster.
I would like to remind all our participants in today's meeting that I don't know how many of you have visited recently and about 20 years back in Uttarakhand. I have visited all dhams about 4 to 5 times in last about 25 years. The BRO, the Border Roads Organization, has been widening and strengthening all the roads of Uttarakhand. And there were very many improvements taken place. You will understand that in case of the hilly areas, there are some problems of making them foolproof against the landslides or against the effect of heavy rains. Secondly, this is not correct to say that Uttarakhand has not sensitized their district collectors about the effects of disasters that they are prone to have it. I myself have been associated in conducting number of their awareness programs.
Can I stop you there, General Saab? I want to clarify something. Are you saying that the belief that the roads that go to places like Badrinath, Kedarnath, or to the higher reaches of Uttarakhand are not hastily constructed, that they are designed to take the capacity and load of traffic that they are taking, and that the argument that I was presenting and that Mr. Thakkar was endorsing, that actually these are badly constructed roads, they are prone to landslips and they are carrying more people than they should, that is a wrong argument.
That is wrong argument because right up to Badrinath and Mana and beyond, we have a border on the China, and we must understand that it is a priority on the part of the National Highway and the Government of India and not only the Uttarakhand government.
All right.
And therefore, we have lots of improvements on the highway towards Mana Pass and towards Badrinath. As far as the Kedarnath part is concerned,
yes, finish your answer.
As far as Kedarnath, yes. On Kedarnath side up to Gaurikund, the road is been developed very well. But I am certain on the district roads and the other roads which are not being manned by the BRO, they are not up to the mark.
Now this is very interesting. He's making a very important distinction between roads manned by the BRO and other roads manned by civilian authorities. Would you accept the point Mr. Thakkar was making about roads not manned by the BRO?
I endorse because I
You endorse it?
I endorse not only about the roads only, but I am talking about all the infrastructure which are taking place in the hills. It's not commensurating with the standards which are already designed for the earthquake or flood prone areas.
Just a moment, are you therefore also talking about the allegedly 600 hydropower projects that are being built in Uttarakhand? You're also talking, I take it, about the sometimes allegedly careless deforestation that is taking place.
Because
All of these are things the disaster management authorities in theory should be aware of and probably are, and yet it's happening in front of them and they are not giving the advice, or they're not enforcing that their advice is implemented. So in other words, we're aware there's a problem, we're aware it could become a disaster, but we do nothing.
I'll clarify two things here about the institutional arrangement when we talk about disaster management. At the state level, state disaster authorities are there, but disaster authority not into the direct implementation of the development works, and they do not also have the say that whether it will work or it will not
No,
work.
but just hang on, this is very interesting. I mean, we have a disaster management authority. They are aware that the roads are badly designed, that they're prone to landslips. They're aware that 600 hydropower projects is going to create an ecological and environmental disaster. And yet, they do nothing to stop that continuing. What's the use of having them there if they
Sir,
give
the-
advice
the
in
point-
theory
the
that
point-
isn't enforced?
Point which I am taking, that they only can negotiate with the concerned sectoral departments, that probably you have to take these kind of account into
You mean the
consideration.
state governments don't listen to their own disaster management
authorities in terms of actually implementing the disaster management resistant
This
technology.
seems to me to suggest that you have disaster management authorities who are well aware of the problem. They're giving advice about tackling the problem. They're probably even suggesting ways of tackling it. But state governments, whether we're talking of bureaucrats or politicians is another matter, but state governments hear the advice and ignore it because it doesn't suit them. So we come down to politicians and bureaucrats thinking they know better than their own disaster management experts and therefore ignore their advice. That's what it sounds like.
I think most important is to train the bureaucrats, especially the high bureaucracy, in disaster management. In fact, the highest...
But how can you train them in disaster management when they seem to ignore their own disaster management experts' advice? They don't want to listen to the advice.
Because they're
Where will
not
they be
understanding
trained?
the risks. That needs a fair amount of training.
We're back to mindsets again.
No, but also awareness. They're not able to grasp the risks. You know, there's a scientific and technological training needed
You
to
mean
tell them.
you're saying
that-
something really shocking? You're saying senior bureaucrats and politicians, even though they are being advised by disaster management authorities, still can't grasp the risk they are being made aware of. As a result of which, they do nothing and disasters happen.
Very true, because repeatedly experts, practitioners, even NGOs keep repeating all these
This is a really
warnings,
shocking
but-
note. The lessons that we need to learn from the disaster management response, or maybe I should now start saying lack of response in Uttarakhand, is so serious. I'm going to take a break and come back and ask all of you, what then are the important steps we need to take to ensure that hereafter disaster management advice is listened to and implemented and not simply issued in reports like those in front of Mr. Thakkar, put in a shelf and forgotten about. That's in a moment's time. That clearly is going to be the critical part of this discussion, so stick with us. Welcome back to the last word. We're discussing disaster management in India. General Bharadwaj, the conclusion that we reach, which for many is absolutely shattering at the end of part one, is that we have very good disaster management authorities who are clearly aware of the problems looming on the horizon. They give crystal clear advice. They even give suggestions about what needs to be done. But the problem is politicians and bureaucrats who should be acting on that advice choose to ignore it instead. How then do we get politicians and bureaucrats to wake up and respond properly rather than ignore the advice of their own experts? A quick answer, sir.
The practical problem that I will tell you is that the Disaster Management Authority Act came in 2005, and before that there was no word like disaster management. And since then each state is supposed to have their state disaster management authority. The national authority is very well groomed up, but most of the states have not groomed up their state disaster management authorities, and nor they have done followed the national guidelines that we have laid down from the center. And therefore, there is a necessity to all the states to take active steps to strengthen their state disaster management authorities and state disaster response forces, which they don't have. Who will respond?
You're very right, sir. I'm going to leave you there because I want to bring in a couple of the others before we run completely out of time. Hidden in that answer from General Bharadwaj is the possibility that disaster management as a concept only began in 2005. That's just about 8 years ago, and it's too new. And even though the center has understood it, states and state politicians and bureaucrats haven't, and they need more time to realize that when disaster management experts advise them and tell them what to do, they need to act rather than put their reports on a shelf and forget about it. Is that part of the problem? That they don't really understand because it's too new a concept in India?
Not necessarily, in terms of like, though it's a new concept, we were in the totally response mode. Now we are going for risk reduction mode. And it has not been understood properly by the development planners.
Is that so the development planners haven't understood a new concept properly? It's just too new and alien to the bureaucratic system? A quick answer?
Not really. What we need is a cumulative impact assessment of all the interventions we are doing in a state like Uttarakhand, which has multiple disaster possibilities, which is not happening at all, including taking into account the
I'm going to come back to you because I think this is such a critical point, but you have to give me a quick answer. Why is it that we have good disaster management authorities giving proper advice, anticipating problems, suggesting what needs to be done, and yet things don't happen? Why is it that politicians and bureaucrats who should act don't act? Why?
First thing, there are several states who do not even have a disaster management authority.
No, but that's another matter. Where they do have it, why don't they act?
That shows their level of caring for disaster
management. Where the advice is available, why don't politicians act?
Well, disaster management is state subject. Nothing is enforceable. So what is needed is that disaster reduction measures should be enforced. And they should be part of all policy making.
I've run right out of time, but I'm going to end by suggesting to the audience that this critical question that I asked in part 2 isn't answerable because no one can actually work out why it is that when politicians and bureaucrats get advice from experts they themselves have put in place, they then ignore that advice and end up with a real disaster on their hands. And it's an amazing situation, and it suggests to me that our politicians and bureaucrats need to become more aware of what disaster management is. At the end of the day, the problem lies with them. My thanks to all three of you for coming to studio. My thanks also to General Bharadwaj for joining us. And if you have been on that somber note, just think about it. We have the authority, we have the advice, we even have suggestions what to do, and yet people simply don't act and disasters happen. What a dreadful situation. Goodbye, good night.